Well, from the world heavyweight title fight that isn't happening to the one that's just happened. This is for the championship recognized by the WBO. Now, how they came to the conclusion that neither Tyson nor Holyfield were bona fide contenders, we'll leave to them and their accountants. But here it is anyway. One of the contestants, Ray Mercer, won the Olympic heavyweight gold medal in 1988. Lennox Lewis won the super heavyweight gold, in case you're confused. Mercer's opponent, Tommy Morrison, the new White Hope, a cinematic world champion in Rocky V, but unbeaten for real. So, the WBO World Heavyweight Championship in Atlantic City, Mercer against Morrison with Harry Carpenter.
Let's get ready to boxing for the WBO World Heavyweight Championship. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with stars and stripes trim. His weight, 221 3/4 pounds. He comes from Kansas City. His professional record, undefeated, 28-0, 24 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenger, Tommy the Duke. And across the ring in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with red, gold, and black trim, weighing an even 225 pounds. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida, he now fights for the Triple Threat Gym in Newark, New Jersey. This 1988 Olympic gold medal champion is now undefeated as a professional with a record of 17-0, 12 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, the WBO World Heavyweight Champion, Merciless Ray Mercer.
Well, the first thing to be said about this fight is that the WBO title, the World Boxing Organization title that Mercer holds, is quite meaningless. Everybody in the world knows that Evander Holyfield is the real champion. But the fight does have a certain amount of significance. Here are two unbeaten fighters, and the winner may well go on to figure in later world title fights, proper world title fights. So off we go with Tommy Morrison, the latest great white hope from the United States of America, this blonde boy from Kansas City, against Merciless Ray Mercer, the former Olympic champion. And Mercer is a notoriously slow starter. And Morrison will be well aware of that. He's known as the Duke Morrison because he claims to be some sort of distant relation to the late John Wayne, who of course was always known as the Duke. And in these opening moments, the White Hope, Tommy Morrison from Kansas City, is doing the better boxing and getting the jab to work and finding Mercer an easy target. Mercer has come into this fight at 16 stone 1. Now that is the heaviest he's ever weighed in the ring, and it's about 10 pounds heavier than his normal fighting weight, but his camp felt that he wasn't effective enough at the lighter weight, so they're experimenting. And here he is, the heaviest he's ever been by 10 pounds. And I must say, looking at the midriff, he certainly looks to have extra poundage. He is very fleshy and slow, which is why he's getting caught. Both his men unbeaten. Morrison has won all his 28 fights, 24 of them inside the distance, but one has to say that the opposition has been very, very mediocre, and Mercer is certainly the most dangerous man he's ever met. And that's a good attack by Morrison. Beautiful combination. And Mercer just stood there and took them all. And the uppercut is a particularly dangerous punch from Morrison, coming up between a not very good guard. Perez, the referee. And Tommy Morrison, only 22, he's 8 years younger than Mercer, has made a bright start to this, and in fact has totally outboxed Mercer. in this opening round. And again a good combination attack by Morrison, who's found very early on the way to get through the defenses of this big man in front of him. Well, that's a bad start by the champion, Ray Mercer, and he can't afford to have too many rounds like that. And on the evidence of what we've seen in the first 3 minutes, Tommy Morrison is well on his way to winning this fight. But then Mercer is a slow starter. And in fact, in his last fight, when he won this WBO title against the Italian, Damiani, he lost the first 8 rounds right off and then came out with 1 punch. That's that dangerous uppercut from Morrison in this replay from the first round. That's a good punch. Look at this combination. Everything's getting through here, varying it well. The uppercut particularly good. Even the left hook that follows hits Mercer high up on the head. Good series of punches this. And Mercer seemed to be able to do nothing about it. Out they come for round 2 of the scheduled 12-rounder. Mercer on the left, weighing 16 stone 1, and Morrison just about 3 pounds lighter. Mercer, a late developer. He was getting on a bit when he won the Olympic title in Seoul in '88, and now he's 30 years old. But he's a very, very strong and durable character who can take a lot of punishment and then switch a fight with just 1 punch, as he did with Damiani. And in a previous fight with Burt Cooper, he had a really tough battle there. He got an injured mouth and a swollen jaw, but he stood his ground through 12 rounds and won it on points. But he's going through a very bad period here in the opening rounds of this fight in the Convention Center in Atlantic City. Mercer trying to get his jab going, but so far he's been coming forward, but not really putting much together. And all the time, where Morrison shoots these punches out, they get through. Morrison, of course, has had a little bit of a film career. He was a co-star in Rocky V when he played alongside Sylvester Stallone. Took a 6-month break from boxing in 1990 in order to play that part in Rocky V. In fact, Mercer has said before this fight that he thinks Morrison is a rather better fighter in the movies than he is in real life. But at the moment, this white man from Kansas City is making him pay for that remark. There's always excitement in boxing when you get a good white heavyweight hope. And if Morrison can win this fight, then he is going to make a lot of money. The last big white hope was Jerry Cooney from America. And he was going well until he met Larry Holmes, who incidentally is in this audience here tonight. Morrison hasn't quite come forward with the sort of, that's that punch again he has, the right uppercut. That's the one he did the damage with in the first round, and he's done it again. And there's a fleck of blood now at the mouth of Ray Mercer, this former US Army sergeant. He was in the Army when he won his Olympic title. So again, Mercer has gone through quite a lot of punishment, and you can see for yourself the damage to the mouth. And that was done by that piercing right uppercut that Tommy Morrison is employing with great skill and ferocity in this fight.
Now, when you're outside, you got to use your feints more. Feinting with the jab, then the right hand up hook. You open up on the right hand too much. Okay. You got to add the hook to it. Work the whole body, though. You're only working the head. Okay. You're not throwing no body shot. Okay. All right?
So Mercer getting the orders from the corner to work to the body. Forget about the head.
Come on. We ain't got time to talk.
Don't think Morrison needs too much coaching. He's done pretty well through 2 rounds so far. Both these men are big hitters, and the betting has been pretty close on this one. But a significant point is that Morrison, the white man, has never fought beyond 6 rounds, and that might tell if this fight goes that far. So Mercer in the white trunks against this white hope from Kansas City, Morrison, and Mercer well behind now after 2 rounds. And shown no signs that he's going to get into this fight. And the mouth of Mercer very clearly damaged. Mercer really has done nothing so far. He's been very immobile. He's taken most of what Morrison has thrown. He's picked up damage to the face, and now he's getting another working over. Morrison picking every shot he wants and finding the target. And Mercer is in bad trouble. What a good left hand. Everything Morrison throws seems to get through, but the former Olympic champion, Ray Mercer, is taking these shots, and one keeps thinking back to his last fight against that Italian, Francesco Damiani, when he fought 8.5 rounds and was miles behind on every judge's card, and then produced one uppercut which smashed into the Italian's nose, laid him on the floor, and he didn't beat the count. The right hand there from Mercer. That's the first reasonable right hand he's thrown. Round 3. All Morrison so far. But just a little sign here that Mercer's beginning to put a few punches together. There was that good right, and now he's trying to get the jab going. Moving around a bit now too, Mercer. He's not standing still anymore, which he was in the first couple of rounds. He's now moving and jabbing. So a very, very slight change in the pattern. He's making himself a much more difficult target now. He's letting Morrison chase him. But for a change, he's not letting Morrison hit him. Another right hand from Mercer. And suddenly he looks like a different fighter. And he's nodding to his corner as much to say, yep, I think I'm beginning to understand what this is all about. But not before time. The first 2 rounds were bad for him. And part of this 3rd round was bad for him when Morrison went with these sort of punches again. And that right uppercut again almost took him apart. Well, at that point in the 3rd round, it looked as though things were drawing to an end for Mercer, but one has to say that he came through it, and that was one of the right hands that rather changed the pattern of the fight towards the end of the 3rd. Donald Trump, and this fight is being sponsored by Trump Plaza, one of his hotels. Fourth round. Now, have we seen a subtle shift in this fight? It was all Morrison for 2.5 rounds, but towards the end of the 3rd, Mercer, in the white trunks, began to look as though he actually knew what he was doing. Both these men have had their succession of pushovers in being built up, but recently Mercer's fought a much better class of opponent, and he's beginning to go to work here. And this is a different Ray Mercer suddenly. Mercer's never been a skillful fighter, but he's certainly been a courageous one, and he rather trades on that. Morrison again trying to get those combination punches, the quick hooks to the body and then the uppercut. Trying to get those to work again, but it's not quite as sharp as it was earlier. And all the time he's beginning to get hit very hard indeed around the head. And the general feeling before this fight was that if Morrison was going to win this, he would have to win it fairly early on. And he hasn't. And Mercer's beginning to look extremely dangerous. This is an entirely different Mercer from the man we watched in the first two rounds. Almost as though he fell asleep at the start of this fight, but has woken up. Mercer now turning his man, getting off the ropes. He wasn't doing that earlier. And Morrison's work, you'll notice, is now beginning to look very ragged. It doesn't have the crispness of the earlier work. He's throwing punches, but they're not really getting through. And all the time, Mercer's finding his head and blocking the punches now. Different fight. And suddenly, the odds, I think, have switched in Mercer's favor. And that was a very different fourth round from the ones we saw earlier. And Mercer lifts his arms and seeks the crowd's applause, which he gets, and knows that this fight has taken an entirely different turn in this corner now, beginning to get a little anxious about the damage around the eyes.
We got to go low. Use the body. It means you have to change your levels. Relax. Keep it close. You got to change your levels. You got to follow up with your punches. Right? What you're trying to do is you're letting him throw first, and then you're covering while he's in too tight. You can't throw.
So that corner now beginning to ask for different tactics from Morrison. They want him to go for the body, exactly the thing that Mercer's corner were asking for earlier. That was a tremendous thumping, two thumping right hands to the head of Morrison in that fourth round. So they're coming out for the fifth. Now then, will Morrison follow orders and go for the body? No, he's still shooting for the head. And Mercer looks so confident now compared with earlier on when he looked as though he was heading for defeat. And there's that right hand again smashing through, and it's all coming through against Morrison now. And this looks like the end to me. It could be stopped right here, and it is. Maybe not stopped quite early enough because Morrison was taking too many punches. And after 28 seconds of round 5, Ray Mercer has successfully defended his WBO title. That's not terribly important. What is significant is that the white hope of American heavyweight boxing, Tommy Morrison, has been shown up in this fight. He hasn't quite got it at this level, and Mercer put him through the mill here in the closing moments of this fight in the fifth round. But I wish the referee had come in a little earlier. He's looking quite unconcerned, the referee, at this point, and the man is suffering, and there are at least half a dozen blows he shouldn't have taken. So Morrison beaten for the first time in his life. Mercer is still unbeaten and is clearly perhaps going on to meet Lennox Lewis or maybe Larry Holmes.
Well, a fearsome ending, but happily Morrison was all right in the long run.